Good evening, everybody. Let me get the slides uploaded here. It's not the end-all be-all format of what I want to do, but it's a little bit more. Damn, my camera's messed up. Let me fix this. There we go. That's better. So I worked on the Landfall Hour slides some more. They're about where I want them to be. They're not exactly there yet, but you guys will get a little bit of an idea of what I think they're going to look like when they're all done. The updates that have been made to NHL Edge have made these significantly easier. So once I know exactly what I want to do, I'll be able to pump out shows a little bit more often. Let me try one more time to get this to upload. Come on. Come on. Yes. Upload. There you are. Come on. You can do it. Good job, computer. Okay, yep. Let's see, is this working? Yep, it is. All right. Okay, so I'll get to some of the comments here first, and then we will go from there. Let's see how everyone's doing tonight. Slumped, what's up, buddy? Warning has been taken. I appreciate that, pal. Hope you're doing well tonight. Bobby Marshall, man, that's such a cute dog. Let's get this W tonight. I agree, my friend. Dylan, what's up, dude? When are we getting our first watch along? Buddy, I'm so busy with school and working and everything like that that I don't know when that's going to be. I will do one as soon as I can. I would at least try to do it before. I'll try to do like one or two a month starting next month. My class schedule is a little bit more favorable in terms of time, like when I take my classes, when I have to be on campus and everything like that. But I also decided since school is going really, really well, I might as well add a third class and see if I can handle that. And if I can, then, I'd graduate sooner and everything like that. So Slump says we need a watch along. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll do my best to do it soon. I promise. I can't do it tonight because my girlfriend's making me crunch wraps, and I love you guys, but I would kill every damn one of you to get my crunch wrap. I'm speaking figuratively with that. I don't actually mean it, but you know what I mean. So this is NHL Guru, by the way. Okay, hey, good to see you, pal. All right, so here's what we're going to do here. So this is just kind of a little bit of a preview of what the new format's going to be like. Important question right here. I'm going to answer this first. What's in the wrap? She's doing ground beef, sour cream, cheese, lettuce, tomato for the ones tonight. You can make them with just about anything, but like doing it the actual Taco Bell way is like with with like the ground beef, because I think that's all they serve it with. I've actually pretty much stopped eating fast food entirely. I've barely had it since we moved down here, and I'm surprised because there's a Waffle House on every corner down here in South Carolina, and I have yet to go to one since I've moved here. I have actually managed to pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. You're doing too much. If you guys look in the comment section, you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm gonna do some watch alongs at some point and everything like that. I got a bunch of other stuff that I gotta get taken care of. I've been good about continuing to go to the gym. I'm actually like starting to put a little bit of muscle back on and everything like that. I finally got to skate again this morning for the first time in 3 weeks because I've been busy. It's just I used to let my fitness and my education and stuff like that take a back seat. I just couldn't do that anymore. It was affecting my health and everything like that. And I decided I just didn't want to live that way anymore. Like I've only lost like 39, 40 pounds or something like that. And I already feel like I feel better in my 30s being 40 pounds down than I felt when I started gaining a bunch of that weight in my late 20s. So I got to stick with that. I got to prioritize that, because if I, develop, sudden onset death diabetes or something and fall over dead, then you guys don't get any shows from me. And that guy over there, he doesn't have opposable thumbs, so unfortunately he can't do it for you. So I wish this camera would cooperate with me. And then additionally, I'm giving up my allotted 1 hour a day that I have yet to use of playing NASCAR 25 to do this show, which I'm very, very happy about and everything like that. But when I'm on my off break from school, I'll do a bunch of shows. I'm going to try to do them every day, but I'm going to play NASCAR 25, and I'm going to try to stream it over on my sim racing channel. If you guys don't know about that, I'll leave a link in the description to it and everything. But we're going to get into the rest of the comments here, and then we'll go to the slides after that. Will Parks, what's up, dude? Hurricanes money line first period, Jets money line, Perfetti, Ehlers, anytime goal scorer, 7,000. Wish me luck, fellas. Well, good luck. I know that people gamble. I have nothing against it. I just personally choose not to partake in it. So like when people talk about taking money, like money lines and parlays and all that other shit, I'm like, I have no idea what any of that means. And like I said, I have nothing against gambling. It's just like, I just personally choose not to get involved in it because I feel like, especially when it comes to hockey, I would probably get like a little too into it. So I just choose to refrain. Chance says, and I quote, Walker out now, Zadorov in return. No thanks. Huddle House shits on Waffle House. I like both of them. I like both of them. Like, it just kind of depends. Like, if I'm driving down the interstate and there's a Huddle House and a Waffle House on, I mean, there's several of them up and down 95. It kind of just depends on when I get hungry, which one I go to. I enjoy them both. Slump says, I'm trying to cut out the fast food. Just can't seem to get away from the big Bojangles. That's a hard thing to stay away from, buddy. Trust me. I know that's my favorite fast food place, but I've managed to stay away from it. I miss the sweet tea. I miss I gotta stop talking about this. I got another, 45 minutes before I'm going to eat. Predictions for tonight's games: Wild versus Penguins, Hawks versus Sabres, Canes versus Jets, Bruins versus Kings. I'll come back to all those because I want to get started here. I got Wild, Canes, Hawks, Kings. All right, cool. Bobby Marshall says Blake is playing out of his mind. The kid is going to be a superstar. Oh, damn, I forgot to give him a plane. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with that, I'm going to show that post here, before I kill the show or in the show. I'm going to show my Canes if they were aircraft posts. You can make fun of me for it all you want. I've been waiting for a long time to do that. Maybe Blake will do some crazy shit and I can say that he's like a TIE fighter or something. Chance says, maybe I'm a little mean to Walker. There's just something about him I don't love. I love Nikishin, but he needs to be more physical as well. Yeah, and I'm also wondering why Nikishin's minutes are lower. I don't know what's going on with that, but we'll see. All right, typical don't sue me slide where all the data is from and everything like that. And again, these are kind of an incomplete format. I'm still kind of figuring out what I'm going to do with this one, but I'm just looking to make something that's a little bit more condensed so I can do the show more often and also do the show faster. And then that way we can spend more time interacting in the comments if I'm sticking around, or if I just have to do it closer to game time, we can get that done. All right, so big picture. Again, unfinished product. Please forgive me. So Hurricanes, 73 goals for, 58 against for a differential of plus 15. Jets 64-4, 52 against for a differential of plus 12. Canes are so the two teams are kind of close in that regard. Goals for per game 3.60 to 3.32. Goals against per game 2.85 to 2.74. Power play, this is where the teams are not close at all. Carolina with a abysmal, still struggling, still needs to get fixed, 12.5%. Winnipeg is currently sitting sixth in the NHL with 25% power play. That is good. If the Hurricanes can get to somewhere between 20 and 25 and stay there, their chances of going deep in the postseason and actually winning a Stanley Cup become it's a big multiplier if they can get that done. Penalty kill percentage, 79.4 to 84.3. Yeah, it's a little uncharacteristically low for the Canes right now by about 6%. But once you get Slavin back in the lineup, you're getting Chatfield back tonight. Those things are going to help a whole lot. Face-off percentages, 49.8 to 53.1. Canes have struggled in the circle a little bit, but like I said, I'm a big believer that face-offs are not as important as they used to be because it's not 2002. It's not 1996. Possession changes really quick, and when the Canes lose an offensive zone face-off, they just forecheck the other team into submission to get it back anyway. So this new NHL Edge data is absolutely beautiful. I love what they've done with it. I don't know how exactly I'm going to use the new layouts of it because I used to have one slide for every single data point that they had in there. And now they've cleaned it up and made it look so much better. I can almost do it a little bit differently. Like I said, this is the stuff I'm still figuring out. So finally, the Canes are back to having a team playing against a team that on average is not as fast as they are. Nikolai Ehlers was the biggest net positive for speed that the Winnipeg Jets had before. Now he belongs to Carolina. So 22 mile per hour burst, 20 to 22 mile per hour burst, 18 to 20 mile per hour burst, Carolina. So when you're looking at speed, acceleration, and top speed, good to go there. 23.21 to 22.77. Pretty significant gap when you're talking about a game that's as fast as hockey is. Zone map, shots on goal. Winnipeg is not really big on the volume shooting, as you can see from the map here. So 683 to 514. High danger chances pretty close, 168 to 1.5 or to 154. Mid range, that's where you start to have a little bit of a gap, 197 to 140, and then long range 182 to 124 or 182 to 124. So there's a big gap with how much this team likes to shoot from the point versus a team like Winnipeg. Hurricanes love the volume shooting. They love to do the low to high stuff and love to do the cycling. They will have a big net positive in shot attempts there, bigger than normal, if you ask me, as far as shots from the blue line and everything like that. That's something that Winnipeg, if they don't gap up on the points really well, like Minnesota was doing that the other night. Minnesota was gapping up on the points and preventing shots from the point really well the other night, especially through the first two periods. Well, more so the first period, a little bit of the second period, and then Carolina kind of like figured out, oh, wait, maybe we should try to win the game. We're already here. And those shots and everything like that, that's one of those things where Carolina can have a big advantage and everything like that. You go into zone time itself, shot attempts 4, 8.4 to negative 1.8, big advantage there in overall shot attempts. Shots on goal differential, plus 0.8 for Carolina. So again, volume shooting feeding into that shots on goal net positive here. With Winnipeg, the difference is much more in the shot attempts than it is with the actual shots that actually connect and get on goal and everything like that. So this is going to be a night where the offensive zones at each end look very, very different with how they're executed. All right, then you go into the zone map. Where are these teams scoring from? From all locations, Carolina has 72 goals versus Winnipeg 63. And you see Carolina's kind of getting them from everywhere. A lot of rebounds, a lot of second chances from shots that come from the point. Winnipeg, they're making a lot of stuff on the doorstep because they love to generate those chances in tight. They're really good at that. Scheifele's really good at that. There's a lot of those guys on that team that are excellent at that. High danger chances, despite the fact that Carolina spends a lot more time in the offensive zone than Winnipeg does, they are dead even on high danger chances at 31 apiece. If Carolina and Winnipeg have an even amount of high danger chances tonight, Winnipeg probably wins because Winnipeg is more likely to finish on those high danger chances than in a lot of other situations where Carolina does. We've seen this plenty of times where Carolina generates all those chances, doesn't get rewarded for it. Winnipeg seems to have that a little bit more figured out. Out of their 63 goals that they have in all locations, 25 of them come from right there in the high slot and then another 6 on the doorstep. So that's like nearly half of their total goals come in that area. So you got to keep them on the perimeter, shut them down. Don't let them get those cross-ice seam passes. Don't let them have the middle of the ice, and Carolina will be fine there. But if high danger chances are even at the end of this game, more than likely Winnipeg wins. So that's something that Carolina's they've really got to prevent there. But the good news is Carolina's also really good at keeping teams on the perimeter and doing shot suppression and everything like that. So that's something that you can, exploit there if you're Carolina. Mid-range 26 to 17. Mid-range chances and long-range chances, or as you would say, medium and low danger chances as well in terms of analytics and everything like that. If you have a high volume of those favoring Carolina and have as much of a net positive as possible in high danger, Carolina probably wins. But it's one of those things you can't really let it get close in that regard. Otherwise, Winnipeg will exploit those high danger chances and make the most out of them. All right, going on to the goalie matchup here. We've got a backup goalie matchup essentially here. Brandon Bussey, 5 games, 4 wins, 1 loss, no overtime losses, a 2.60 goals against average and an .898 save percentage. Eric Comrie has a very eerily similar record, 2.60 goals against average and 5 games played, 4 wins, 1 loss. Go figure. His save percentage is slightly better at .908. So in terms of on paper, between the pipes, pretty even game at the moment. Now, when we go to look at more stuff here, shots against. This is where they're typically facing shots from over the course of these 5 games for each of these guys is from this area right here. 127 to 141. Bussey's probably not going to face as many shots, especially not quality shots, not as frequently as Comrie probably will. High danger, 49 to 40. Mid-range, 36 to 45. Long range, 16 to 19. So this is one of those nights where if Carolina does things, if they play their game and they're effective, Bussy's not going to have to make a ton of saves. I'd be surprised if in a winning effort if he had to make more than 20 of them. They're going to have to be timely, though. So that's where we've seen Kochetkov struggle a little bit at times, is when he's not too busy. Sometimes he falls off a little bit. So I think that's the biggest thing you got to look for, is that consistency out of Bussy. He's probably not going to have to do a bunch of highlight reel stuff. He's probably not going to have to win the game for the Hurricanes, but he's going to need to come up big a few times when he's called upon. Save percentages. Comrie has a slight advantage in all of them except for mid-range. That's where it's a little bit bigger of a difference. And long range, a lot of teams don't shoot from the point as much as Carolina does. So a goalie having a perfect save percentage at shots from the blue line, that's nothing irregular. And then mid-range, they're pretty close. High danger, that's where they're not super close. But Bussy, if he's going to face chances tonight, more than likely against a team like Winnipeg, they'll be high danger. So then you go to goals against from all locations. Again, only 5-game sample size, but still pretty even. So if this turns into a goaltending matchup, or as some might call it, a mid-off, I don't think that's fair because these guys are professional athletes. But if it does turn into that, could be an interesting game in that regard. But if Carolina plays their game correctly, that will not be a factor. All right, so preview of what I'm going to do for the advanced stats slide. I just haven't decided which ones I'm going to use because I want to show expected versus, or frequency versus volume, all that type of stuff. But that is something that's going to come along. Now, one thing I did not get a chance to put in was the lines. I'm going to pull that up the old-fashioned way on Game Day Tweets, and we will talk about those, and then that'll be about it. And then there's Carolina, there's Winnipeg. It takes me forever to find the last alphabetical team in the country, or in the league. All righty. Let me get that closed down there. Close that down there. Close that down there. All right. Let's look at the lines here. Wait, why is it showing these? That shouldn't be the old ones there. Okay, we'll just do it this way. I'm not expecting anything different from Carolina in regards to the lines. But Chatty's back in the lineup. That's really, really good news. Why is it not showing them? Show the... Oh, no, I don't... Damn it. I hate it when I don't have time to get the entire show together the way that I want to. All right, let's try this again. I don't think the lines are going to end up being any different than what they were the other night, except for the fact that Chatfield's back in. And let's see if I can find the morning skate lines. All right, let's see. How old is this? November 21st, that's today. All right, we'll look at the Jets lines. We're a little bit more familiar with the Canes lines because, we watch them all the time. That top line there, that's dangerous. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Velarde. So when you're talking about a line that is really dynamic in the offensive zone, basically that line is incredibly dangerous once they have possession of the puck anywhere, and especially on the wrong side of the red line and then ultimately in your own zone. That's a team that you want to try and hem them in, or that's a line you want to try and hem them in their own end as much as humanly possible. You give yourself a much, much, much better chance to win this game if you keep Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde down at the other end. Second line, Nemestikov, Tays, Perfetti. Solid second line. I'll take Carolina's second line over that any day just from a speed factor and everything like that. But Jonathan Tays is still effective enough of a player to center guys like Vlad Nemestikov and Cole Perfetti and be an effective second line. But this is one time where it's basically Winnipeg's first line and 40 feet of air to a good second line. Now, their third line is really good. This could actually match up in terms of net positives with Carolina's third line really, really well. Niederreiter, Lowry, Iafallo. That line, and considering one of them used to play for the Hurricanes and was a fan favorite, definitely one of my favorites, that line is one of the closest lines you're going to find to the Hurricanes Stahl line. And at one point in time, Nino Niederreiter was the guy who was with Stahl and Martinook. So if you want to see a line that's very similar there, that's it. That's about the most similar line that you're going to find to that. And then for the fourth line, Kopech, Barron, Nyquist, I'm taking Carolina's fourth line over that any day. Now, here's where things get, especially without Slavin being in the lineup, here's where things get a little bit close in terms of how good they are. Morrissey, DeMello. Josh Morrissey is, even though he does get a lot of credit, Josh Morrissey is one of the most underrated defensemen in the National Hockey League, in my opinion. When it comes to being a legitimately good two-way defenseman, he is one of the absolute best ones that there is. Dylan DeMello complements him well, but Josh Morrissey is the one who really drives that top pair. Under normal circumstances, I'm taking Carolina's top pair 10 times out of 10. This time, no Slavin. Not necessarily doing that. Getting Chatfield back in helps the overall scheme of things with the defense. Sandberg, Pionk, I'm taking Chatfield and Miller over that. Chatty's going to need a little bit to get going again. Logan Stanley and Shin, that's a good pair as well. The defense, without Slavin, it's kind of a toss-up with who has the better team tonight. If Slavin was in the lineup, then this is 110%. Carolina's got a decent advantage with the defense and everything like that. But as far as which defenseman out of this entire lineup is the best on the defensive side of things, that's Josh Morrissey, while still being probably the best puck mover, best offensive guy out of all the defensemen that are in the lineup tonight. So Morrissey could be a really big factor in this game on his own. He's a very good player. I think he's very underrated. So Logan Stanley, big kid, likes to throw hits. Sandberg, same thing, big, likes to throw hits. This defense is going to punish the Hurricanes forwards every chance that they get tonight, to make them work for their pucks. So getting pucks in behind them and then retaining offensive zone time, it's gonna be a very atrocious thing to do. It's gonna be hard to do. But Carolina can win this game. This would be one of those nights where I would really, really love to have Slavin to have the net positive over defense and to have him to match up against the Connor Scheifele and Velarde line as much as humanly possible. This would be one night where he'd be useful because you could basically kind of, I don't want to say tunnel vision or relegation, but kind of have him really, really focused as much as possible to go up against the Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde line. That would be the best thing ever if they could actually do that. But it's going to be a team effort to shut down that top line. The other three, not too much worried about, but at the same time, like I said, Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, Alex Iafallo, that's the closest thing that you have on another team to the stall line. And Adam Lowry just got a nice big payday too, so there's that for a factor. So, like I said, I'm not expecting much different with the lines. Game day tweets must be a little bit behind. But Svech, Aho, Jarvis, Ehlers, Stankov, and Blake, I'm not expecting any changes there. Carrier, Stahl, Martin, no changes there. Hall, Jankowski, Robinson, not expecting any changes there. As far as the defense goes, with Chatfield back in the lineup and everything like that, with Miller, Gostisbehere, Walker, Nikishin, and Nystrom, I believe, was the third pair. Actually, let me just go on X and pull up, because I know Walt tweeted about it earlier. Him or Corey did, one of the two. Yeah, I'm not really expecting anything different with the Hurricanes line, so we don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about that. All righty. So that's the end of that here. All right, let's go back to some of the comments here. Haggerty, what's up? According to Adam Gold, we've lost 2 games because the face-off was lost. By we, I mean the team. Yeah. So here's where I have a nuanced opinion when it comes to face-offs. And a lot of people have mistaken some of the things that I've said about it. And this is one of those things that I've had a consistent opinion on, and it's probably never going to change unless they go back to using wood sticks, wearing soft shell Sherwood Hoff shoulder pads, and bring 2-line pass back. And if players get significantly slower. Face-offs are not as important as they used to be. If you watch a game from the pre-lockout era and maybe even shortly after the lockout, back then, a face-off guaranteed you, if you managed the puck correctly, guaranteed you a good 20, 30 seconds with the puck. I remember one of the biggest things that drove that home for me, that whole idea that face-offs were not as important as they used to be. Don't get me wrong, you'd rather win them. But a lot of times where someone wins a face-off back one of the wingers on the other team gets on their horse and beats them to that loose puck before the defenseman can get to it, and the rush has gone the other way. Carolina actually does that a lot. So that's where it's like an example of that. But I was over 2 summers ago, I want to say it was, or it might have been last summer. I can't remember. I had NHL Network at work where I could watch it on this app we had on the computer. And I was watching the 1999 finals between Buffalo and Dallas. And sorry, I'm getting a little stuffy for some reason. But Bill Clement and Gary Thorne were talking about, like, there was an offensive zone faceoff in the second period, and there was like 33.1 seconds. And Bill Clement said something that would never be said today. He said, 33 seconds, I don't know if that's enough time to score a goal because of how slow-paced the game was, because you had to win the faceoff, move the puck around a bunch, get things opened up, everything like that. Teams were much more defensive. Like, the game was much more defensively minded as a whole back then, primarily because of two-line pass. And now it's all attack, 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 which is fine. Honestly, I know I'm old school, but the game is probably better off that way. That being said, 33 seconds in an offensive, 33 seconds is enough time to get 2 nowadays. If you play your cards right, you can score twice in 33 seconds easily, especially if you're talking about the very first thing that happens at that particular timestamp is that there's an offensive zone faceoff for one team over the other. So back then, that was the case. You want to face off, you get the puck for about 20, 30 seconds, because typically you didn't just up and shoot it right off the draw when you're talking 90s, early 2000s, everything like that. Today, winning a faceoff guarantees you possession for maybe a couple of seconds, depending on how you did it. If you win it dirty, you might not get it all. If you win it clean, you still might not have the puck, because one person with speed gets on their horse and gets to it before the defenseman stepping up into it does. He's gone the other way. And that happens all the time. So pinning the loss solely on faceoffs, even though they've been bad, I don't agree with that. I know I'm just a beer leaguer, but like, I just personally don't see faceoffs being that important anymore. Now, another caveat to that. Let's see, how much time do we have? Okay. Oh, we got plenty of time. Another caveat to that. In special team situations, I'd say that they're still monumentally important, because if you win a penalty, if you're on the penalty kill, you win a faceoff, you win it back cleanly, scoop it up, throw it out of the zone. Don't have to worry about icing because you're killing a penalty. Power play, you win it cleanly. It's 5-on-4, 5-on-3, 4-on-3, whatever. You've got possession of the puck where it's a lot easier to be able to manage it, because you've got a little bit of extra time and space, because you've got 1 or 2 extra guys that the other team doesn't. So that's one of those times where, when a face-off back, you've got a little bit longer to make a decision with it initially before everybody spreads out after the face-off and gets to where they're supposed to be going. So in special team situations, yeah, different story. But honestly, I just and then one other thing with face-offs, and, a lot of people say, I forget who said this, face-offs were the original possession metric, and they were also one of the first metrics that ever got skewed in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of times where someone wins a face-off, wins it kind of dirty, but the other guy gets credited with it, and the other way around. And the funny thing about that is it's not the arena staff doesn't track face-offs. That's one that, like, when you have guys who travel with the league and go to games and do the official scoring, where they count primarily goals, assists, shots on goal, and stuff like that. And my dad used to do shot tracking in the SPHL, so I'm got some familiarity with that. That's completely different than hits, blocks, takeaways, and giveaways, which are strictly tracked by the arena staff. That's why if you go on Dauber's Frozen Tools and you see the arena stat bias, that's one of those things with it as well. So especially with as quickly as the game goes and everything like that, face-offs, I think they're kind of a skewed metric. 5-on-5, they're not as important as they used to be. Special team situations, they might be more important than ever. But overall, I don't think that they're as important as they were. That's one thing that Adam would probably disagree with me on, and that's fine. But face-offs being the sole reason a hockey team loses a game, those days are over. And they have been over for basically since the lockout ended. They were on borrowed time, but now those days are completely over, in my opinion. AB says Nikishin first goal. I would like that. Only 3 likes, Keniacs. Come on, we can do better than that. I appreciate every like I get. Can't wait to experience a Comrie masterclass tonight. Yeah, we're getting shut out. Lackey, you and I are way too familiar with the lore, bro. Slumps, we can't see the lines. Yeah, I couldn't get the share screen to work. I'm very sorry about that. I'll be better prepared next time now that I have an idea of what I'm doing with the edge data and everything like that, because I did a bunch of schoolwork and I'm like, I got a few minutes, I'll play around with this. And I was going to do a show and just do the share screen and, do it like I've been doing it lately. But this time I was kind of like, no, I can throw this up here and kind of give it a little bit of a test run. Dylan says, I'd love to have Morrissey with the Canes. Josh Morrissey's a hell of a hockey player, dude. Definitely he's one of the best two-way defensemen in the league, and he's still very underrated in my opinion. Maybe it's just we don't get a lot of exposure to him because, Eastern Conference versus Western Conference and everything like that. But Winnipeg is one of the teams that I like to watch Winnipeg has been one of the teams that I like to watch over the years when I'm not watching the Canes, and Josh Morrissey was one of the big reasons for that. The other one was, I can't remember his name now, but the guy who used to do the World Hockey Championship and the World Junior Championship and used to be the Jets full-time commentator. I can't remember his name for the life of me. He's one of my favorite ones. I cannot remember it. If any of y'all know, put it in the chat, please. But yeah, he was one of my favorite commentators to listen to. He's retired now, but he's right up there with Gord Miller for me. I mean, you guys already know who my favorite is. That's John Forsland. But John Forsland, Gary Thorne, those two were, it's 40 feet of air until Gord Miller and, those other guys. Randy Hahn from San Jose, I really like him. There's a bunch of commentators I like. Alex Faust I really liked before LA let him go, and he's really good at calling baseball too. So, those are just some things there. I miss Nino. His jersey still hangs in my closet. Me too, man. I really liked him. I hated to see him go. Got a Blaker jersey for Christmas last year. It's aging well. Absolutely. Slump, my dad says, also got an H's jersey for last Christmas. Not long after that, he got traded. Yeah, my friend Jeremy got an H's one too, and right after that, he got traded. And I was I wanted to get. So I've got 2 Aho ones. I've got my 25th anniversary one, and I've got the previous away in an Addy Zero Adidas one, but it's a made in Canada Pro Stock one, like the ones that the players actually wear on the ice. I was still, I waited until he signed his, even though I was 99.9% sure he was going to stay in Carolina for the long haul. I waited until his 8-year deal I waited until the ink was dry on it before I sent that one off to get it done. And then I turned around and I got the 25th anniversary one anyway. Next jersey, probably a black Nikishin. I already have black 21, but it's Nino. Yeah. I try to collect 21 myself because I've got Derek Stepan, and I tried to get a Drayson Bowman one for those of you who remember him. I wanted to get a Nino one. I just never got around to it. And I always wondered how long he was going to stay in Carolina anyway. But definitely going to get a Nikishin one, but I'm going to get the previous road white with that primarily because the only one I have that is my Made in Canada Aho one, and that one's not leaving my closet except to get signed and to get framed. And Nikishin played his first game in the white when, Carolina eliminated Washington in 5 games, which, so many people told me it wouldn't go down that way. Hell, I didn't think they'd beat them in 5. I think that, I always thought they would win. I didn't think it would be over that quick. AP says, I'm an NFL guy. I got a bonus for NHL, though. I have a 7-leg parlay going. Just need Carolina money line left. Am I good, or do I cash out? Chat, help him out with that. Brandon doesn't know how gambling works. I'm not the best guy to ask for that, and I don't want to make you lose any money. So, guys, let this gentleman know, please. All right, I think that is everything there. Now, we're going to have some more fun if I can get the share screen to work this time. Let's try this again. Share screen. Share screen. All right. Should be working this time. There we go. All right. So, y'all can laugh at me all you want. I enjoyed making this post. These are several of the Canes players and what their military aircraft equivalent is. So for Sebastian Aho, I did the F-18 Hornet, particularly the C or the D model, because Finland has those, and it's like a multi-role kind of does it all type of jet. I've got a model of one right over here that you can't see. It's a little bit out of the frame. Let's see who else. Let's see. Stankoven. I did my personal favorite fighter ever, the F-16C Viper. This one in particular is actually a TF-16N, which is a two-seat version that has the gun taken out that the Navy used for aggressor training. We won't get into that because I'll be here talking for an hour. Keandre Miller, F-15 Strike Eagle. Jalen Chatfield, F-15C Eagle. There's a big difference. Jacob Slavin, F-14 Tomcat. Andrei Svechnikov, MiG-29. Alexander Nikishin, Tu-22 Backfire. Rod, I gave him the E3 Century because, he's in charge. He knows everything's going on. Seth Jarvis, funny facial expressions, loved by teammates and fans. If you're wondering what the funny facial expressions are, A10, 30 millimeter. Plane was built around the gun. A little bit of trivia there for you. And, yeah, that's how that works. But Jarvis has all of his goofiness and everything to go along with it, but also, serious as a heart attack at the same time. Kokaniemi, I gave him the F-35 because this is a very controversial plane. Some people say it's the greatest thing ever made. Some say that it's a waste of money, just for fun. Sean Walker, there are pictures of a CF-118 there, which is literally just an export version of the F-18 sent to Canada. UL Nystrom, Gripen, Sweden's premier fighter jet. Mike Riley, I gave him the F-5 Tiger because he's there occasionally. He's there if you need him, but he doesn't get used all the time. And plus those are outdated and they're basically just used for aggressor training anyway. Shane Gostisbehere, I gave the EA-18G Growler, which is a jammer aircraft. It does a lot of electronic countermeasure stuff. Pyotr Kochekov, Su-57 Felon. If you saw the new Top Gun, that is the 5th-gen fighter in it. It's literally like the same jet. They just didn't want to call it that for, obvious reasons in this day and age. Jordan Stahl, C-130 Hercules, because he's a workhorse. He's been around forever. William Carrier, I gave him the Harrier because Carrier and Harrier kind of sound alike for one thing, and he misses a lot of games, and, he has to have a lot of maintenance, and that's the same thing with Harriers in real life. A lot of times their pilots only get 5 hours a month because of how often they're broke. But those are being phased out for F-35s, which that's actually a good thing. F-35s are a much superior platform to those. Jordan Martinook, I gave the F-22 Raptor. And then for the bonus round, Scott Morrow, I gave him the F-117 Nighthawk because he's completely invisible and he has no defensive capabilities. And my favorite one to write was actually Brent Burns. I gave him the B-52 because he's been in service forever. Still drops a lot of bombs, just not as accurate as some new bombers might be. Talk about retiring. Everybody talks about retiring but him. And as much as he pissed me off last season and a lot of the season before, it was really cool to have him play for the Hurricanes, and he will be very missed when he's gone. And remove that. All right. J-Dub says he's asking if we will win or not. Gun to my head, yes. Slump says he's basically saying he has a lot pending on Canes to win tonight. Do you think the Canes will win? Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Dylan says maybe I should wait until Nikishin signs before I get one. Yeah, safe play, but I don't think he's going anywhere. That guy's the future cornerstone of the defense. Slavin's starting to get older now. You got to, even though it's a long way off, you got to think about who's going to, be who you build the defense around in the future and everything like that. That's Nikishin. That is him. The rest of his bet hit. If he gets it all, if we win, not if we lose. Okay. Yeah, offering 190. If Carolina wins, I can get 420. Oh, shit, that's a tough call. Now I'm thinking. I didn't know it was that much money on the line. But when I say I don't know jack shit about gambling, I really don't. I still think Carolina will win. I do. I really do. It's going to suck, but I think they'll win. It's going to be a rough one tonight to win, but it can be done. Slump says, I saw the post earlier. I thought it was cool, but I don't know anything about planes/jets, so I really didn't get what each one meant. Hang around me long enough, and you'll know more about fighter jets and World War II fighters and bombers and military aircraft in general than you ever bargained for. You'll one of two things will happen from being around me when I talk about planes. You will either gain a further interest in planes, or you will hate planes. There is no in between. There's no like, oh, that's cool. It was nice to learn about that. It'll be like, this is the greatest thing ever. Or it's like, I never want to fly again because all I'm going to think about is everything that this stupid bastard said. That's about all you're going to get. But J-Dub says 420. I'd hold out personally. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, bud. I think Carolina will win, but that's a lot of money to lose. $190 if they don't win. But yeah, gambling advice is not, I'm not the best one to come to for that. Sound the siren. Thanks. Carolina Hurricanes fan cast reposted the string. Nikishin scratched. Hold the no. Why? Is he injured or? No way. Why would Nikishin be scratched? Based on line rushes, he's a healthy scratch. But why? Yeah, cash the bet out, bud. Just cash the bet out. Kane's report said it. Yeah, and he's a reliable dude. He's a very reliable dude. Why in the actual fuck is Nikishin scratched? I know I've gotten better about not using the language on here, but what the hell? Maybe he's dealing with something, but he also said healthy scratch too. So like, his minutes have been lower lately. So he might be dealing with something. He's not been playing bad. He might be dealing with something. Just Riley Nystrom is the third pair per Walt. Maybe he's dealing with something because his minutes have been going down gradually lately. So maybe he's got some type of injury nagging him. He might. There might be an illness going through the room or something. Okay, yeah. Here, let me reel it in. I wouldn't read too much into Nikishin being scratched. It's that time of year where, you know, there's like colds and flu and shit going through the room and everything like that. Or maybe he's got something bugging him and there's no point in like, the Canes are first in the division and it's what, 22 games into the season or whatever it is. It's yeah. No, if he's scratched, he's probably dealing with a little something because he's not been playing that many minutes lately and he wasn't playing bad. But that's not there's times though, J-Dub, where that happens though, where they don't say that there's something up with somebody. They just, it's an extended maintenance day because it might be something else small that they're dealing with. If he's actually healthy scratched and he's healthy enough to play though, that I don't understand because he's been playing really well. But the reason why I think that his minutes were going down because he wasn't playing bad, but he's blocked a bunch of shots, as Dylan pointed out in the chat there. He might just have something bugging him, and they're just playing it safe with it. It might just be something as simple as something that's swollen that needs to go down or something like that. Nothing serious. This is probably a nothing burger as to why they're scratching him. I'm sure it's not performance related because the kid's been fine. The kid has played fine, so I don't see any reason why that would happen. I really don't. So we'll see. But I'm going to go downstairs and get ready to have my dinner. Everybody, thank you very much for joining me. Damage report will probably be tomorrow. Because I got to be up early. I got to go to work for a little while, get, go to the gym and get some time in there. Then after that, I should be able to do it pending everything that I have to do with schoolwork. But I'm going to go enjoy my crunch wrap. That is right, Slumped. I will go enjoy my crunch wrap. I will see you guys later. Y'all take care.